This is Jarrod Horak, and my How to Use Today's Racing Digest video series continues with a look at fractional charting. And I will use today's Racing Digest data for my examples, and all data in this video is provided by todaysracingdigest.com. For this video, I will look back at Breeders' Cup Friday at Del Mar on October 31st. But before I do, I will explain what fractional charting is. Betting the highest speed figure will ultimately give you a flat bet loss due to lack of value. For example, if you're using a number like the Beyer speed figure, you see that final time rating, everybody can see which horse has the best final time rating, and those horses are typically overbet. And oftentimes, the top speed figure horse is not suitable for the pace matchup of today's race. And that is where fractional charting can help. Unlike other handicapping products, the seasoned digest handicappers identify the most representative past performance line for each horse, and then they use sophisticated algorithms, par times, class standards, and then the database projects how each horse is expected to run in today's race, and taking into account any previous track bias, changes made in class, distance, surface, and tracks. And with fractional chartings, you don't just get the final time rating, you're able to accurately visualize how today's race will unfold. The fractional charting will display likely front runners, projected early fractions, and that could help you uncover potential speed duels, as well as the swiftest closers in the race, and projected final times that can favor closers missed by the betting public. Now it's time to look at the fractional charting for October 31st at Del Mar, day one of the Breeders' Cup World Championships. And the fractional charting was able to uncover 6 winners looking at the projected final times. Those winners were, in race 2, Conducted, paying $5.40. Race 3, Mohaven, had the co-top final time, paying $5.60. Race 4, Queen Maxima, at $4.80. Race 5, Ocean Bear, at 2-1, paid $6.60. The first Breeders' Cup race was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. That one went to Cy Fair at 5-1 odds, paying $12. That one had the best projected final time. And then race 9 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Ted Noffey was expected to win that race as the favorite. He did. He paid $3.60. Now we're going to look at the fractional charting for each of the races for Breeders' Cup Friday and see if we can find some things that you should be looking for when you're using fractional charting. And we'll begin with the first race. And overall, looking at the first race, the first thing you're going to see when you see the fractional charting, up at the top, you're going to see par times for each of the races. You're going to see fractions for quarter, half, three-quarter. Then you're going to see the projected final time at the finish. And then you're going to see the last fraction, the horses with the best closing kick at the end. And you can look at the par times and see what the par times are. And then you can look at the projected times for each of the horses to see if horses have pace advantages, if there might be a speed duel. And then you might want to look for a closer there. You can just look over and see which horse has the best projected final time. And then you can look over at the last fraction, the horse that has the best finishing kick. Now, for the last fraction, I like to use that one in turf races. Typically, turf races go to the horse with the best finishing kick. They don't necessarily have to be huge closers. They can just have the best. They can just outkick the other horses. But on the main track, typically, horses that can be more forwardly placed, they'll have the advantage there. But looking at the last fraction, you can use that maybe if you're playing exotics. That's like the trifecta, the superfecta, the super high five. And in race 1 at Del Mar on Breeders' Cup Friday, the horse with the projected best last fraction was Vodka Vodka. That one was expected to have the best finishing kick. And that one also was able to get out there and set a nice pace as well. So for that horse, right up on the pace, tracking the pace, was switching surfaces, had been running on turf, but was bred for the main track, was 12-1, and was able to upset the favorite Westwood there and paying $27. So if you looked at the last fraction, you could see that maybe this horse was a player in this event and was able to get the job done. And maybe ran a little bit better than I expected, but Vodka Vodka was one. Switching surfaces, if you thought that horse could handle the main track at 12-1, that was a decent price there. Now looking at the second race, and I mentioned that Conducted, that one was projected to have the best final time. Now I did pick Conducted that day. I really liked Conducted in this event and was able to win. But some of the other numbers that you can look at in this event Let's look at the best last fraction, and that went to Proton. And Proton was one coming in from Laurel Park for trainer Graham Motion, a decent stakes victory there in that one's prior start, and was 6-1 in this event. And I did like Proton as well. Now, Plutarch was the favorite for Bob Baffert, and that one did end up finishing third. Definitely fit in this event. But Bob Baffert's horses typically do better on the main track than they do on turf. So I did pick Conducted on top, and I liked Proton as well. So I was able to have the trifecta in this race. And then Dr. Agnew was another one that had decent numbers looking at the fractional charting. At 8-1, that one finished fourth. So the horses that were expected to finish in the top four did, with Conducted of the second choice getting the job done there, just being able to get out there and control the pace under Hector Berrios. So that's how race 2 played out. And again, the last fraction led you to a nice 6-1 horse that you could have used in your exotics. And that horse did run well. That was Proton. Now, race 3, as I said, Mo Haven had the co-top final time. I picked that horse as well and was able to get the job done. Now, in race 4, Queen Maxima, I mentioned that one. Best projected final time, was the most likely winner of the race on paper, and did win that event. And then the last fraction there went to Navy Bell. And Navy Bell was one that was not the favorite and had the best projected last fraction and was able to finish third at $4.90. So that one almost went off 5-1 and ran a decent race, missing second place by 3/4 of a length. So decent effort. Now, Shoot It True ended up finishing second. That one was a logical contender. Actually, that one was my top choice over Queen Maxima, but I was able to have like the exacta and the trifecta in that event because I liked Navy Bell as well to come in and finish somewhere in the money. Now, in race 5, we mentioned Ocean Bear at the best projected final time. I liked Ocean Bear there as well, and that 2-1 was able to win nicely. Race 6, Sci-Fair. We mentioned Sci-Fair as having the best projected final time, and definitely ran to that price there at 5-1 there. That was a good price because the chart said that this horse should run a quality race, and definitely did. This one also had the best last fraction. So Sci-Fair, with that tactical speed and best last fraction, was able to win that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Now we're going to look at the 7th race, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And again, looking at the best last fraction, you'll see that Super Corredora had the best last fraction in this event. She was almost 9-1, and she was exiting a big victory when they stretched her out in distance to 1 mile in a maiden race, and she dominated that event. She was coming back in 3 weeks, and she was meeting Bob Baffert trainee Explorer in this event. Explorer was the favorite. Explorer was my top choice as well, and she ran a quality race. But it did come down to those two, Super Corredora and Explorer, and they look like two horses that would be forwardly placed in here. And Explorer actually broke on top in this event under Juan Hernandez, but Super Corredora and Hector Berrios were intent on the early lead. Hernandez backed off and let them have that lead. And as I said, when you look at the last fraction, you knew Super Corredora had a decent finishing kick. And when she got out there to the front, you knew she would most likely be tough to run down. And that was the case. She was almost 9-1, and she was able to wire the field, holding off Explorer by 3/4 of a length. And those two dominated. And the horse with the best final time was Percy Barr. That one was 7-1, and that one finished third. So the best projected final time horse finished third. Explorer had the second best number. She was second, and then Super Corredora with the best late fraction there, the best last fraction, ended up winning this event. So I did have the exacta here. Super Corredora ran a quality race, and she did offer some value, paying $19.60 to win in this event. And then race 9, I mentioned Ted Noffey with the best projected final time, and that one was able to win that event. And we've made it to the 10th and final race for Breeders' Cup Friday at Del Mar on October 31st, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. And now we'll look at the fractional charting, and the horse with the best projected final time was Stark Contrast. This horse went off at 58-1 odds, and he outran his odds. Now the favorite in this event was Gstaad from Post 14 for trainer Aidan O'Brien, Christophe Soumillon riding, coming in from Newmarket. And this horse had a slow start from Post 14, and raced wide throughout and was able to still win this race by 3/4 of a length. But stark contrast, I mentioned the horse with the best projected final time at 58-1 tracked the pace from fourth under Kazushi Kimura, clearly second best for trainer Michael McCarthy. The horse that was third came in from the Curragh in Ireland, that was North Coast. The horse that finished fourth came in from Kentucky Downs, that was the 2 Street Beast. And rounding out the Super High Five, coming in from New York, here's Johnny, number 1. And that Super High Five paid more than $14,000 for a 50-cent wager. And stark contrast really inflated the payoffs here. So hopefully you used the fractional charting and you were able to come up with stark contrast, and you played that horse at 58-1, and you definitely could have played him with the favorite. Gstaad was very easy to come up with. If he could overcome that outside post, he figured to run well, and he did overcome that post. And stark contrast outrunning his odds at 58-1. So that's my look at the fractional charting and how to best use fractional charting in your handicapping. As I said, if you're playing exotics, definitely take a look at the last fraction, because that can be a reliable number when you're playing exactas, trifectas, superfectas, super high fives. A horse like Vodka winning the first at 12-1 odds with the best last fraction. In race 2, we saw 6-1 Proton finish second with the best closing kick there. In race 4, the horse rounding out the trifecta, Navy Bell, had the best last fraction. And as I said, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, Super Corredora won that race, best last fraction there. And then the best final time certainly can use that. As I showed, 6 horses with the best projected final time won on Breeders' Cup Friday. And then another one, stark contrast at 58-1, ended up running second. And today's Racing Digest has been providing past performance data to handicappers since 1970, so they've been around a long time. And one of their most popular products is the Complete Digest, and that Complete Digest includes fractional charting, the race header. I've done videos on the race header before. The Complete Digest has analysis, fire numbers. I've done fire number videos, pace and final time ratings. I did videos for that as well. The fast figs, did a video for that as well. And then it also has wagering strategies and much more. You can go to todaysracingdigest.com for more information on their handicapping products. And like, comment, and share these videos if you like them. Subscribe to my channel as well. It's free to subscribe. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.